Mariah, is he able to run the meeting if I put him on speakerphone? If he has the agenda in front of him?
Stacy, that shouldn't be a problem, would it?
It will be difficult to hear him, I believe. It would be easier if he used the call-in number.
Can you use the call-in number? Because it's going to be hard if I put you on speakerphone to hear you.
We can also try to invite him to the meeting and see if that works really quickly.
I did that. Have you used the
Okay.
link I sent you, Russ? Russ? Mariah or Lisa, do you mind doing roll call? And I'm going to mute my mic so I can try and help Russ.
Got it. Okay, and then I tried to send him the invite too, but I don't think he got it, you guys. I don't think it came through. So let me go ahead and call this to order. It's 12:07. We're starting a little bit late today, but this is the Commission for Inclusive and Adaptive Living. Keith Becker.
Present.
All right, Sarah Dorman.
Here.
Michelle Eisenberg.
Here.
Susan Parrington. Okay, Susan is absent today. Rachel Simakanda.
Present.
And we're waiting for Russell to log on. We do have a quorum. We can go ahead and start. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about recommended protocols while we're trying to assist Rush to get on board. All commissioners should have their microphones on mute to keep the background noise out of the chat. The chair of the meeting should ensure everyone has the opportunity to speak if they would like. Commissioners should use the chat function to inform the chair that they would like to make a statement, and the chair will announce the commissioners to speak in the order that they appear. Rachel, are you ready? Did we lose her?
I am ready.
Okay.
Russ says he's going to join us by my speakerphone, so I'll just repeat everything he says if y'all can't hear it.
Okay.
I will speak very loudly.
Can y'all hear that?
So,
yes, we can hear you, Russ.
Go ahead, Russ.
Thank you. So, Lisa, you already read the recommended protocol?
I did.
Yes.
Okay, so next we're ready to approve the minutes from September 27th. I would like the commissioners to take a moment to review the minutes. Do we have any corrections to the minutes from September 27th?
I did make one correction. I had put Stephanie Birdwell as being present, and she wasn't. So I did correct that and reposted it.
And then Mariah, do we know for sure that she is completely done? Did you find her resignation letter?
She's
Rachel, this is Stacy Bobar. If I might interject, I did speak to, I left a message for Stephanie Birdwell yesterday. She called me back yesterday evening, and she is in the process of moving to Tucson, and she will be sending Alan a new resignation letter.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Stacy. Are there any other corrections? I do have a couple corrections. One, my name is spelled incorrectly, so it's a minor correction, but Randall is A-L-L. And then the second correction I have involves under action items D, sidewalk compliance. We actually dealt with the two letters that are actually quoted in under report and discussion items, but we dealt with those two letters under action item D, ADA sidewalk compliance. Does that make sense, Mariah?
It does. Yeah, I'll look at that and I'll make those corrections as well.
Thank you so much. Do any other commissioners have any other corrections? If not, is there a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
I will approve the amended minutes.
Is there a second to that motion?
I will second.
it. This is Michelle.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of approving the minutes as corrected, please say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Do we have any nays? That motion passes unanimously. Thank you, folks. Next up, information items from commissioners. Rachel, do you have any informational items?
Keith did just put it in the chat and I will get it and send it to you, Russ, but he did just put in the chat the link for that walkability thing that we're going to be discussing. And so I will pull that out of the chat and send that to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And what is that walkability thing, Keith?
That is what the city is. It's the Walk Friendly Communities application that the city is putting in, and I would, well, anyway, it's about that.
Okay, thanks, Keith. Do we have other informational items from commissioners? Seeing no response, I do have an informational item. I did actually receive training on using Teams from Stacy Fobar last week. And Stacy, thank you for spending your time to train me on that. I'm not sure why I can't get in today, but we'll figure that out too. And folks, I apologize for doing this over the phone. I don't know why I'm not getting into the meeting. And then one other informational item, just that now that we have confirmed that we do have a vacant seat on the commission, and we would like to have a full commission, we need to have 2 applications in before the city council would prefer to have 2 applications in for that open seat before they consider filling that seat. So we should be out talking to folks to see if they might like to serve as a commissioner and apply. All good with that, folks?
All good.
Okay, next up, we have our liaison participation.
Actually, Russ, this is Lisa Renee. You actually just did my item. I was going to talk about the need for a new commissioner. So perfectly done. Thank you very much. That's all I had to report today.
2 great minds thinking alike.
Thank you for that, Lisa, and thank you for that,
Oh.
Rachel. Yes, great minds do think alike. That's right.
Lisa, did you want
Yes,
to talk
ma'am.
about Public Works request for information?
Yes, Mariah, I totally forgot about that. But since you're open, go ahead.
Okay. I did reach out to Scott and he would just like direction from the commission as far as what all you would like them to present on and the goals that you have. They would also like to know if you want to involve snow ops, and if we do that, then they would present in December.
I think that's what we're looking for is the snow ops.
Okay.
And then that will give us the guidance that we need to move forward from there.
Okay.
I concur.
Russ, what do you think?
I think so too. We do have a spot, later on the agenda to talk about sidewalk compliance as well. But yeah, with regards to snow ops is Scott Overton, right? Right?
Yes.
Okay, that sounds good to me.
So Lisa, can Russ or I compose a letter and just send it, or do we need to bring it back to the commission next month to send to him?
That's a really good question. Stacy, what would be the best way for them to get that information over to Scott? Given that we did request that he present next month, would it be easier for the commission to just send that letter straight to him? Go ahead, Stacy.
Yeah, that should actually work through you, Lisa. So if Rachel wants to put together kind of that agenda, she can send that to you and then you can forward it to Scott. I think they're just really looking for some direction on what to present on. So
What
that
to
could just
present.
work. Yeah, just
Okay,
working
sounds good.
administrative through you.
Russ
Sounds
and I
good.
will work on that after this meeting and then get it sent to you today, Lisa.
Sounds good. Thank you.
And we'll come back to more of that discussion when we move down to our reports and discussion items. So next up, we do not have the transportation liaison, Stella Hollander, here today. I met with her yesterday. She did ask me to report that the Mobility Planning Council does have a subcommittee in place now. They're calling it the Wheelchair Accessible Vehicle Subcommittee. But that subcommittee is working on developing on-demand wheelchair accessible transportation for our community.
Yes.
Presently, we do not have that in our community. We have no taxis. We have no Ubers, no Lyfts that are wheelchair accessible. So we just don't have that type of on-demand wheelchair accessible transportation. So there is a subcommittee that is working on that, and she told me that at our next meeting she will hopefully have some information, some results to report back. Also, the next meeting of the Mobility Planning Council is November 17th at 10 a.m. Next up, with regards, we have time for our youth liaison report. Is Michelle here?
She is.
Michelle, do you want to report as kind of filling that youth liaison spot?
Sure thing, Russ. Hopefully you can hear me. So yeah, hey, I'm Michelle Eisenberg. And yeah, so we had our monthly meeting yesterday for the Northern Arizona Community of Practice. We did select, we voted in a youth liaison. His name is Joseph Spence, but he couldn't be here today. So he should be at the next CIO meeting, we hope. And then we are still looking for a secondary one. Also, our transition fair is on Friday, this Friday, at CCC. So we're super excited about that. And that's pretty much what we've been working on so far. And then next month, we are going to be having a guest speaker regarding individuals who are blind. And I think that's it for me.
Thank you for that, Michelle. And Joseph Spence cannot be here today because he's actually presenting at a national conference. So we're kind of excited about that. As one of Joseph's old teachers, I'm really excited about that. And then Michelle, I would like to thank you and congratulate you for pulling together the transition fair. Great event for lots of kids. I mean, probably 75 to 100 kids attending. Just a lot of work to pull those together. And as someone who has kind of pulled those together in the past, I know it's a lot of work on your part. So a big thank you and a big congratulations in getting that all pulled together, Michelle.
Thank you, Russ. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Next up, public participation. Do we have any members from the public who are here to talk to us today?
It doesn't look like it, Russ.
Since we don't, I'm not going to worry about the public participation statement. Next up, let's talk reports and discussion items. Do we have Jeremy DeGuider with us today to talk to us a little bit more about the Butler and 4th Street Improvement Project?
Jeremy is with us. Take it away, my friend.
All right. Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners. My name is Jeremy DeGator, Capital Improvements Project Manager. I'm back with Nick Hall with Burgess and Nyepel. We'll be following up on the presentation we did last month. We're not going to repeat everything that we did last time. We just want to hit on some of the high level points of what has happened or what this project will include. For those of you that are in the meeting, I did just drop a link to the project website and a project survey. So for anyone who's interested, the project website just has general information, also links to the public meeting that we held at the Aquaplex last week. So there's a recording of both the presentation and the following question and answer portion. It also gives, again, another version of this same presentation if you want to review that separately. We do encourage you, we're going to have this commission rank the options that we go through today, but we would also want to give you another opportunity or to share with anyone the opportunity to take the project survey, which is open through I think it's midnight on the 29th of October. So if you have a chance, please check that out. With that, Nick, let's go to our next slide. So I just want to remind everyone of what this project is. There were some discussions last time about speed along the corridor, and I don't know if we spoke directly to that last time. The typical section that we would have here would have two 12-foot travel lanes, and then it would have an on-street bike lane and then landscaping on either side, both in the median and in the along the parkway. And I just lost my slideshow.
We're bringing it back up. Sorry about that.
Thank you. So what we've done here is we actually have shaved 1 foot off of each of the travel lanes. So we only have 11-foot travel lanes now. There is no on-street bike lane. We've both horizontally and vertically separated the bike lane. So that's a fully separated facility. So we'll have a 5-foot directional bike lane and a 6-foot sidewalk on each side of the street along this corridor. And that's important because that speaks to speed. We drive, there's not as much space that tends to make us slow down. Additionally, we have lowered the design speed. So this is a minor arterial, which design speed would typically be 40 miles an hour. We have reduced this to 35 miles an hour for the design of this project. As we mentioned, one of the big items of this project is this separated facility. And I think we're pretty excited for what this does for all users along the corridor. And so excited to have this be part of the conversation. As we mentioned, any of our crossings at our intersections, whether it's roundabout or a signalized intersection, these will have protected crossing treatments. And there's a lot that goes into what it means to be a protected intersection, but some of these just involve some of the geometry, positioning of pedestrians relative to vehicles and so on to put them in better positions so they're more visible to vehicles and so on. Also, the striping, so you've probably seen green paint out there indicating areas for bicyclists and so on. And again, this all comes back to speed, right? We're really trying to slow people down. We know that we have significantly worse outcomes with higher speeds. So that's what this graphic is showing here. And what this graphic is saying is that a pedestrian hit by a vehicle moving 20 miles an hour has a high survivability rate. Whereas that same crash, but now the car is going 40 miles an hour, that largely flips and we have a low survivability. So at the end of the day, we want everyone going home to their families. We want to significantly reduce those high severity and fatality crashes. And so controlling speed both throughout the corridor and at the intersections is a primary focus and really leads to some of the treatments we have. And then I'll turn it over to Nick to take it from here.
Thank you, Jeremy, and thank you all for having us back again today. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Yes.
Perfect. Next slide, please. Okay, so just looking at one of the mid-block crossings that we do have planned for this project, there will also be at the Sinclair Little America location as well for crossing. This is looking at Peak Point across from the bluffs. They will be installing the enhanced mid-block crossings that we see around town. This will include the overhead. This will be the flashing yellow condition for this crossing here. And as we go into design of this project, we'll be figuring out the exact details of it. But at this location, there will be a future paired bus stop, so a westbound and eastbound bus stop for Mountain Line as well. So this is a zoom in on one of the proposed future intersections. Recapping from last time, that two of the alternatives are signalized intersections for the Butler and 4th intersection, the other being a roundabout. This is looking at the zooming in to the crossing condition at the intersection. So just to, I think we did touch on, but very quickly last time, the actual curves for right turning vehicles has been significantly reduced to promote slower speeds for turning rights. This is part of the protected intersection elements that Jeremy mentioned earlier. The reddish magenta color shown is a truck apron to still allow semi trucks to make the maneuver they need to. However, it will be extremely uncomfortable for a passenger vehicle to come over this. It will be raised. So again, promoting slower right turns, slow speeds for turning vehicles at this intersection to better help pedestrians and bicyclists cross in a more safe manner. The green areas behind the corners is kind of a bicycle waiting area refuge before crossing. And then we have the pedestrian path tied into it as well.
So Nick, am I understanding that this is not the roundabout?
Correct. This is zooming in on roughly half of the intersection for a signal. This is what the signalized intersection would look like for the crossing.
Thank you.
Next, please. Here is what it would look like for the roundabout. And again, this is early and kind of a scoping preliminary design that we'll be working to tweak and just make the crossings as visible. I think that's one of our primary goals is visibility, but also keeping the crossing length as small as possible too. That the less is our goal on this one. So this just shows that for crossing the roundabout, it would be two lanes at a time. And then the channelized right is on the right side of the screen. So a single lane crossing there. These would also include the beacons that was similar to the mid-block crossing. So the flashing yellow beacons alerting drivers that pedestrians and or bikes are looking to cross at that moment.
And these would have accessible features, right? So all of our crossings, whether signalized or roundabouts, would have accessible. So there would be the tones. And Nick, you're much better at speaking to all those treatments.
Yeah. I'll jump onto it. Yeah, that it's something that it's standard everywhere. We're really trying to update this across the nation and make sure that we all have these at all these crossings now, but we will have it all here. So there is a flashing light, to find the push button. There's a locator tone to find the push button. There's an actual raised arrow on the button to indicate which way you're activating it for, instead of just in the past, we've had the smooth round button that doesn't really tell you which way it's leading you to. There will be an extended press, I believe is what we call it in industry, but if you hold it down, it'll indicate that having some additional features activate, and that's when the actual push button itself will talk to the user and say, signal is flashing, please cross with caution, but it will allow the user, there'll be that audible tone or the message, letting the user know that the beacons are lit.
Nick, concerning alternative C here,
yes,
I would ask that you guys consider just crossing that one portion that you're showing. That's about 120 feet, isn't it?
It should be quite a bit less than that. The lanes are, I think we widen a little bit to this point, 14.
104 feet.
Oh, it's 104.
Yeah.
It's about 104 feet to make the entire crossing. So I guess pretty close to what you had.
So the thing that I would ask in this alternative is to consider that if I had to get to the corner that would be in the upper right hand, I'm in a wheelchair.
Yep.
In the upper right hand, I'm going to be crossing 228 feet. And
Yes.
that's a lot for a wheelchair user.
Understood. Part of that, coming back to that, we'll look at this again real quick, that as we go into design, again, we're going to be trying to make these as small as possible, but also making them in the right visible spot for vehicular users to see pedestrians and bikes making the crossing. That, as you can see, if we could move this further south and further away where it narrows up more, The crossings themselves across lanes would not reduce much, but maybe the median jump would decrease slightly. But it's going to be harder for vehicles to see pedestrians the further we get away. So we'll be balancing those as we go into design, but it is important to consider.
I think that my other concern is if I was crossing and I hit that smaller median, as if I was going east, and I hit that smaller median, right where you're, and then I had to cross where somebody's making that channelized right, or even the channelized left. Those do not encourage people to slow down.
For the next
The
two
channels
lanes,
the channels I don't think encourage people to slow down.
oh, I see. I think I see what you're saying on that. For the channelized right, that another piece that we'll be using is we do not want these to feel like off ramps on the interstate. That it's very easy to design something like that. That's just a big sweeping right, and we know that that's unsafe for anyone outside of a car, and frankly, vehicles as well. That we want the vehicles to be coming up, slowing down, and treating that basically as a stop sign. It will be a yield condition at the end, but having that where the arrow is right now, having that as pretty much straight as possible to that lane. The vehicles need to basically make a stop, look left, look right. Is there anyone on the crosswalk to the right? Is there any vehicle coming to the left? Okay, I think I can go. And having that, we want to promote that decision making with every turn.
Okay.
And there's a lot that goes into speed control. So a lot of it is driven by the geometry, how it is that you approach and so on. And those medians and so on are one way to accomplish that. Certainly we'll be evaluating as we actually get into design. Again, what we're seeing here today is very preliminary. These are really just intended to convey like the number of lanes, the arrangements of lanes, but final geometry will likely be significantly different than what we're showing here. And those are important nuances. We'll evaluate raised crosswalks and other ways should they be needed to help slow people down on some of these lanes. But as we mentioned, speed is really what this is all about. And with roundabouts are very effective at reducing speeds overall to where we're in that 15 to 20 mile an hour range. But as we know, 15 to 20 miles an hour is much more comfortable in a car versus when you're not protected.
Yeah. And then go ahead, Russ.
And that was Jeremy just speaking right now, right, Jeremy?
Yes.
Correct.
And Jeremy and Nick, do you want us to actually rank options today?
Yes, we will. We're hoping we're just about through what presentation that we're going to just kind of open this up to kind of open discussion and questions. And then when we run out of time, which will probably be shorter rather than longer, then we'll quickly run through a ranking.
Okay, we have a really full agenda today. So if we could do that kind of quickly, that would be awesome.
Okay. Nick, let's get through our last little bit.
Okay. So this is just covering the evaluation matrix and the scoring that the project team evaluated the 3 alternatives plus the no build, with the alternative C, the roundabout option, scoring the highest, so becoming the preferred alternative, with the no build scoring the least amount of points and being the 4th ranking alternative. So that does lead us to further questions, discussions before we go to a vote. Do we include the graphics of the 3?
Nick, yeah. Can you put that graphic back up that you just had up that shows
the table? Yeah, we can do that. Yep.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Was there any questions or?
I don't think so. I don't have anything. Does anybody else have anything?
I do. Well, I don't know about questions, but I do have a statement if we're at that point.
We'll go ahead and take them. Yes. I can't see the screen though. If you could.
Oh,
sorry.
This is Keith.
Thank you, Keith. Go ahead.
I would prefer signalized intersection myself. Okay. But if we did go with the roundabout, which does keep traffic flowing, I don't go through that very often, so I don't know what the traffic situation is like in that area. So I can't really speak from experience, but if we do roundabout, I would prefer to see a 1-lane roundabout rather than 2 lanes. One that slows people down. People can get squeezed into 1 lane up by Little America. They can get squeezed up by Continental area. You know, they get squeezed into their 1 lane. They're all going to slow down, especially if they're behind grandma. And that just, to me, that just seems safer altogether. I see you smiling, Jeremy. Anyway, I would like to see a 1-lane roundabout if it's going to go to that. With, of course, you know, I saw the 1 lane you have there. It's kind of separated from the 1-lane roundabout. I mean, you know, the turn lane to make a turn onto whichever street is off to your right. I mean, that would almost work if you had to have a 2-laner coming down, because that would slow people down a little bit because they have to decide whether they're going to turn, get into the turn lane. If they're in the turn lane, get out and go into the pass-through lane. I would just like to see at least a 1 lane in the center of the roundabout if it's going to go to that. That's just my information or my um, thoughts.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, we continue to work to optimize this roundabout, to eliminate lanes where we can, just due to traffic capacity and the way that we analyze future growth and so on. It's unlikely that we'll get down to single lane, although a portion of the roundabout may include a single lane, but we are actively working on the project team to optimize what you're seeing here for the roundabout, to eliminate as many lanes. For all the reasons you just mentioned, it's easier to control speed, it's less crossings for pedestrians and bicyclists, and certainly it's a smaller intersection to build. We don't have any answers on what that looks like today, but we will be going to City Council on November 7th, and we will have more information on what an optimized version of a roundabout would look like. And at this point, as we've mentioned, the roundabout option is this project team preferred alternative.
Jeremy, when this goes in front of city council, will city council be making the decision that day?
That is our hope. It's not an official city council action. This will be a discussion item where council would provide direction. There's a lot of stuff involved in this project, right? We've just kind of touched on a lot of the high points, but we are hoping to get a direction from council, at least in concept, with where we're headed. So selection of a roundabout or a signalized intersections would allow us to actually move into design.
Okay, thank you.
And then with that, is there any other comments or questions before we ask for individual rankings?
I think it's good, Nick.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Russ says he thinks that's good.
Okay, thank you all. I did take the attendance from earlier. I should be able to try and pronounce everyone's names as best as possible, but I'll call on you individually. I'll be asking for you to rank them like first preference, second, third, and fourth. We are evaluating this against the no build condition as well, which is leaving the intersection as it is today. So if you can put these in order of your preference, saying this one is first, this one second, this third, and this fourth, I'll record that and we'll be taking that information to City Council. So Russ, can you go ahead, please?
I'm gonna let Rachel go first.
Okay, go ahead, Rachel.
I'm doing B, C, A. And I'll tell you the reason I don't like C is I don't like that channelized rights.
Sure.
I do believe that for disabled people, that's going to be an issue.
But so your rank, what do you rank as your best option?
The 6x6 signalized intersection.
What letter is that?
B.
And then what is your second option?
Alternative C, which is the 2x2 roundabout with the channelized right.
And then your third choice would be?
Alternative A, which is a 7x7 signalized intersection.
And D is your fourth.
And then no build would be my fourth.
Okay. And then how about you, Sarah?
Sarah, can you do your rankings?
Yeah, sorry, it just took me a second to hit my buttons. So I have in order of my preference to least would be B, A, C, and no build.
And how about Michelle? How about your ranking?
Yes, I am gonna go B, C, A, and no build.
Thank you, Michelle and Sarah. And how about you, Susan?
Thank you. Thank you. My rankings are C, B.
Now, Susan, what was that after B? I think it may have cut out.
Sorry about that. E, B, A, and no build.
Thank you.
And Keith?
B, 1 lane C, A, no build.
Thank you, Keith. And for me, I'm going to go B, C, A, and then no bell. And I think we got everyone, right? Jared?
That was everyone.
Yeah.
We have. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Okay.
All right, so Eileen, can we just go to
Kennedy?
our last slide? We're going to close this out in just a second. I do want to go back to the survey. We would encourage any of you, if you have additional thoughts, there's additional questions related to the project on that survey that would allow you to speak to some of the treatments, pedestrian treatments, separated facilities, and so on. That your feedback would be greatly appreciated. So please check that out. That closes on October 29th. On behalf of the entire project team, I know you've interacted with just Nick and I, but there's a whole team behind us. We appreciate you engaging with this and encourage you to continue to stay engaged. Come to City Council on November 7th, and we look forward to working to build the best project possible for our community. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you all.
And Jeremy and Nick, thank you for your time. Thank you for coming in and kind of informing us and also checking in with us and listening. But thank you very much for your presenting at both our meetings. We appreciate it. Next up, commissioners, let's move on to discussion item B, which is sidewalk compliance. Do we have any folks here from the code compliance city staff folks?
Yes, there's me, Kevin Dunlap with Code Compliance.
And Kevin, you joined us at our work session as well, right?
I did.
Okay.
Sorry, get my camera up here.
So,
There we go.
and just to kind of review things for the commissioners, we have been working on sidewalk compliance and sidewalk obstructions and encroachment for quite a while. And our concerns are things like trash cans that are placed on the sidewalk by both the residents as well as by city staff, and obstructed sidewalks due to bulk trash pickups. We have concerns about sandbags that are placed in such a way to obstruct sidewalks, and we have concerns about sidewalks that are actually desperately in need of repair, and we have concerns about snow removal as far as that. Commissioners, since we have Kevin here, do we have any questions for Kevin?
I do have a question. Kevin, what would be the best way for this commission to help you with identifying those things and then doing anything that we need to do beyond that?
Well, the best way really is contacting myself or Reggie, or we have Robert as well, just to let us know. And truthfully, Robert and I and sometimes Reggie are out there in the community more often than not. Robert's been doing a great job of making sure the trash cans are cleared off the sidewalk and making sure people's sidewalks are at least aware that their sidewalk is broken and might need to be in repair. We do get around for the bulk. These are actually our higher priorities as a code compliance team. Obviously, we do some other stuff, but just shooting us an email or even a text message to let us know that you might be having a worry or concern about certain areas. I know we try to keep things like downtown. That gets a little bit convoluted at times because you have the bike lane, and then you have the sidewalk, and what do people do with the trash cans? And so we're just really trying to be aware of a lot of areas in the city.
Okay, so I guess that leads to the next question
Yep.
is, we're gonna be redefining both the name and the goals and roles for a parking liaison. And I believe that it's going to involve sidewalk compliance.
Okay.
So if we were to have one contact person, would that make it easier for you?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, good question, Rachel. And Kevin, I'm going to ask you this too. We would like to ask you to come back to our work session meeting in November, if you could do that.
Yeah.
And the work session meeting, we have a little more time to kind of talk through some of this stuff too. Because I literally had some other ideas and talking with folks who live in other cities who also have some of the same issue. I know some places actually have like a civilian code compliance crew that kind of assist the professional staff with regards to code compliance. I know some places actually have that part of their neighborhood watch program. And I don't even know, does the city of Flagstaff have a neighborhood watch?
There's a couple. You have the Sunnyside, you have University Heights, and then you have the Plaza Vieja in the south side. Those are pretty much the only ones that we've dealt with in the past.
Kevin,
Right.
would you mind getting, if you have it, the names of the 3 people that run those? And then can you send them to both Russ and I?
Yeah, who run the neighborhood watches?
Yes,
Okay. I'll have to do some digging.
okay,
Because once COVID hit, things got a little bit relaxed, and I think things are starting to build up a little bit more. But just give me some time, please. And then
okay, definitely.
how do I get your information? Shoot you an email or something, or do you just want me to share it at the work session?
I will email you both mine and Russ's
Okay.
emails. And then at the next work session, then we can talk about more about that, the neighborhood
Okay.
stuff.
Sounds good.
And that work session will be on November 15th.
November 15th. Okay. Got it
I
down.
think that's the best day
And-
right there. So.
And then Keith, I see your hand up.
Yes. I have a couple of things to ask about. One is, how familiar are you with House Bill 2395?
Not very.
You should, being in code compliance, that's something that you really ought to check. Anyway, the other thing is, it's difficult to report these things, and if only a handful of people are doing it, that's not going to get things resolved, in my eyes. I can drive around all day long, and I can send you 100 reports every day. Okay.
Right.
I don't think you're going to like that. So, and I really don't have the time for that. Do you have anybody that can get in the vehicle and actually scout different sections of the town?
That's
each
what
week,
we do.
Each week, all week. Okay, well, I did see somebody one time in a code compliance vehicle pulling through my area, which had all kinds of big snow berms blocking sidewalks. And they just drove on through and just kept on going. So nobody was stopping, nobody was doing anything. Now, maybe they had other things to do, so I'm not condemning anybody for anything. But, we have Proposition 419 that got passed by the city in 2018. And there's supposedly, according to the walkability, walk-friendly communities applications that the city sent in, they mentioned that 29 million of anticipated revenue is dedicated to pedestrian and bicycle projects. And I think a good project to help with pedestrian and bicycles as far as bike lanes blocked and all that stuff would be to give you guys some money for another vehicle, for another person that could actually cruise around and check some of this stuff a lot more, you know, and maybe even somebody that's first grade level that would sit in a trash truck and say, this house has trash cans on the sidewalk. This one has them on the sidewalk. You know what I mean? Of course, that's with a different department than you. But I mean, you know, these are the kinds of things that I'm thinking about that would be relatively inexpensive, of course, except for the vehicle and hiring a person. But you know, a minimum wage person that's going to do some scouting for y'all. You know, I don't know. Anyway, those are things that I just have to say.
Yeah, so just on that note, Robert and I, like I was saying, we drive throughout the entire town every single day, probably about 6 hours out of the day, just trying to find, 90% of the cases that we open up is by staff who find the violations. The rest of it is just by citizen complaint for it. So we are out there. I know when it comes to the snow berms or the sidewalk being obstructed, we see that people are working on it and trying to snow plow it and everything. And if we notice that, obviously it's going to be very difficult for them because we melt and then in the nighttime it freezes over again to get it down to the concrete. As long as we see some movement from people that are trying to clear off their driveway or their sidewalk and everything, we leave them be. We thank them for working hard for it. And then at times, if they're out there and we know there's someone next door has an Airbnb and it's not there, and we can't get a hold of them, and maybe we can pitch in and help them clear that out as well for the sidewalks. And that's another issue for another time. It's just getting with the short-term rentals, they're supposed to have an emergency contact with them, so that way we can get in contact with them and say, hey, your home that you have for Airbnb or VRBO is not being shoveled. And those are some of the harder situations that we have with trying to get in contact. Now, in November, hopefully everything starts to change and people start to be cooperative with providing the emergency contact numbers. So that way we're able to get in contact with them and to make sure that the sidewalks are walkable. But we are out there. We're doing the best we can. Like I said, there's 4 of us right now, Reggie Eccleston, myself, Robert, and Janice, who's our dark skies. And sidewalks is always going to be our top priority.
Well, God bless you guys for going out and doing all that because I really appreciate it. And I'm on your side trying to get you some more help because I believe the city definitely needs to get at least one. I would like to see 2 more people under you out there because that famous mailbox, 2 mailboxes on a sawhorse on West Street, that has been there for 5 years. Okay, somebody should have spotted that. But anyway, I appreciate that, and just a little more info on that House Bill 2395. If you go into the ARS Title 28, Chapter 3, Article 13, it's listed as 28,873, and that's where you'll see it in the official part, other than just looking at what the House bill had to say in it. So,
okay, you said
thank you, sir. We appreciate you guys. We really do.
Thank you.
I'm not trying to point fingers. I want to help you.
Oh, no, we're good.
Sarah, Russ, I do see that Sarah's hand is up.
Okay, Sarah.
Hi, thank you. I just had a quick question. Just being that you are a small department, and I know money and budget can be kind of an issue. Is the city working on possibly getting like volunteers to help people clear berms? Is there an avenue for that? Is that a possibility, or is that something that's not able to be considered?
So right now,
I'm going to ask you to hold on to that because we are going to have Kevin back at our work session on on November 15th for more discussion about all that. And perhaps this commission can help with regards to setting up a volunteer kind of package. And then I know Robert is also working on that Snow Heroes program. But again, I would like us to move on to the agenda just so that we can get to our action items.
Russ, let me say one more thing. Sarah, I will send you, I'll send you the minutes so that you can see the things that we're working on that you just mentioned. So I'll send you an email.
Great, thank you. Sorry, I just am not always
That's
able
all
to
right.
make the work session.
Thanks, Sarah. We do appreciate you, even if you can't. Okay, Russ, go ahead.
Okay, and then with regards to that whole sidewalk discussion, I think I've heard that Flagstaff PD is planning on coming to our meeting, our next regular meeting of the CIL. That's right, Lisa, right?
Yes, Dan Musselman asked that he be added to the November agenda.
Yes, I'm sorry, you guys. I was speaking and my mic was on. I mean, my mic was muted. But yes, he will be at our next meeting.
So Russ, how do you feel about moving the parking liaison role? How do you feel about moving that to when Dan Musselman is present?
Exactly my thought. So we are going to move that to our November meeting. So we can kind of delay that discussion. I also think I heard that Scott Overton wants to come to our December meeting. Is that right, Lisa?
Yes, that is correct. Or he could send a representative, either or.
Right. And Scott, I know, is in charge of like snow removal and that stuff. Is he also oversee the trash pickup?
That's our Public Works division. He used to be over that division. We have a different person over that now. I believe it's Sam Beckett.
But so Scott is not Sam's boss?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Russ.
Is Scott Overton Sam Beckett's boss?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yes,
I
he
can
is.
look in. Yeah, thank you.
Was that a yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So Scott can actually kind of advise us or guide us on both those issues.
Russ, I do see that we had a hand up. Do we still have a hand up from one of the participants? I guess
Oh,
not.
hi. This is Dan Folk. I had my hand up. I was just confirming that Sam is our street superintendent and he works for Scott Overton, who's the public works director.
Okay, thank you.
That was my understanding as well. So, and I guess Lisa and Ryan, I'm going to ask you this too. You know, in a perfect world, we would have these folks attend our work sessions because we really aren't going to take action on any of the things they tell us, at least not at that first meeting. So in a perfect world, we'd like them to come to our work sessions as well. But okay, just to move quickly on to our action items. The first one I see is that putting together a letter to NAU for community service and volunteerism to support the Snow Heroes program. Susan, would you like to speak to that for a moment?
Sure. So this is corporate social responsibility is a way that organizations can organize opportunities for service, particularly service in the communities in which they are operating. And as a way to potentially address the Snow Heroes, if that's what we're still calling it, potential program and recruitment of volunteers to help with snow removal from sidewalks, there's an idea of creating a call to action from the city to the corporate organizations in town to create a corporate social responsibility day of service event. So that was the kind of background and suggestion that I made.
Thank you, Susan. And I actually see two different kind of action items there. One was for a letter to the city council to actually call for a day of service, I think. And then the second one was a letter to NAU to help collaborate, I guess, with regards to that volunteerism effort. Is that right, Susan?
That's correct, and specifically to the community service and volunteerism, the center that's on campus.
So Russ, is that something that if Susan is willing, that Susan, are you willing to make the letters for that? And then this commission can, Russ, can we vote today to have her send the letters or send them to you and then send the letters?
No, probably not, because I think the letter should be read to this commission before it's sent.
Okay.
But what I would say, Susan, if you are comfortable, I will assist you in writing both those letters, one to NAU and one to the city. Are you comfortable with that, Susan?
Yeah, I could draft both letters and send them to you to make better.
Excellent. So I'm going to move that Susan draft a letter to NAU relative to community service and volunteerism, and then also draft a letter to the city council relative to a corporate social responsibility call to action. And then those drafts will be reviewed at our next regular CIA meeting. That is my motion. Do I have a second to that motion?
I will second whatever it was you just said.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion regarding that? Seeing no discussion or hearing no discussion, all those in favor of that motion, please say aye.
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 Are there any nays? That motion passes unanimously. Thank you, folks. And Susan, I will look forward to seeing those drafts, and then and then we can kind of talk about that together, and then we'll just present them to our next commission meeting. So thank you for that, Susan.
Do you want the drafts before the next working meeting or just before the next?
Before the next working session, that would be great. Absolutely.
Yep. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. And then our last action item just has to do with that letter that we talked about at our last meeting that came from the community practice team and then was edited to make it appropriate for this commission to send to the city council. And I think I still have Stacy Salzberg here. Stacy, did that letter get sent out?
Yes, it did.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Stacy. So we do not need to take action on that item.
No, correct.
Thanks, Stacy. And then just a couple more things, folks. The date of our next meeting is November 22nd, which is the day before Thanksgiving. And I'm thinking we may not have a quorum for that meeting.
Can we take a poll? Can we just take a poll to see if commissioners are willing to do that date or if we need to move it?
Yes, and I will not be doing that day.
Okay. Keith, can you do that day? Sarah, can you?
I should be able to, yes.
Just give Keith a second here. I'm looking at my calendar.
Okay.
That would be the 22nd. I'm okay with that day.
Okay, Susan?
Yes, I'm okay.
And Michelle?
Yep, that day works for me.
So I think it's going to work for everybody except you, Russ.
Well, isn't that a wonderful kettle of fish? But, I will do my best then to make it that day too. We won't change that day. Change that day, but we won't be changing that day. So we're good with them. November 22nd. And I will do my very best to be here. And hopefully I will be able to do it completely in person or completely remotely. Lastly, agenda items for our next meeting. And I know for the November meeting, we have Chief Musselman coming in to talk to us and to talk about, as an action item, the parking liaison situation. Do we have any other action items that we know of, or agenda items that we know of right now for our next meeting.
Would it be to review those letters regarding the community service and volunteerism?
Yes, of course. Thank you. That should be on there as an action item. That's correct. Letters. Keith, I know at the last meeting we didn't talk about things that you thought should be on the agenda for a meeting.
Yes. I think I'll bring those. I want to bring some of them up for discussion first. I think at our working meeting, and then see if we want to throw them onto the agenda for further discussion.
Okay.
And then Russ, I think as an action item, we're going to need to, at the working meeting, we can clarify goals and roles for what we're calling the parking liaison. And then I think in the commission meeting, we can vote to accept those and also vote to accept that liaison.
Right. And then, thank you for that, Rachel. And then also, just heard Kevin tell us he's going to be at our work session on the 15th. So I know that will be on the agenda for that work session meeting. So our work session meeting is going to be on the 15th. Our regular meeting is going to be on the 22nd. And then if you have other commissioners, if you have other ideas, be sure to reach out to me and I will reach out to the liaisons to get them on the agenda, before the meeting. And then also, Rachel, I believe you are holding a work group meeting. And would that be this Friday night at 5 o'clock?
That is this Friday night at 5 o'clock. Kevin,
Okay.
if you would like to join that meeting, it's just a working group meeting, but we can talk to you then about clarifying how we're going to work best with your office.
And what day is that?
It is Friday at 5 p.m.
This Friday?
Yes, we do it every other Friday, and this is that week.
Okay. Shoot. Is it through Teams?
It is through Zoom.
Okay. Yeah, send me that link. I will see. I gotta look at my schedule here because usually we'll figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah,
I will.
it is after hours for you.
Well, and Kevin, we understand it's Friday night at 5 o'clock. You might have something else you need to do Friday night at 5 o'clock. And Rachel, I actually will not be at this week's working group meeting. But with that said, and this is for the other commissioners as well, I'd love other commissioners to attend those work group meetings as well.
We can't do that.
Yes.
We can't do
Yes,
that. We'll create a
Yes,
quorum.
we can, as long as there's no more than 3 of us there.
Well,
So-
you, me, and Keith make that 3.
And I will not be there this Friday.
Yeah, so I agree. If another council member wants to join that, I think we can do that.
Exactly.
So before I send a Zoom invite out, are any of the other commissioners interested in attending that working group meeting?
I
I'm
can't
very
this
silent,
time, I'm
entering the room.
sorry.
Hold on, Sarah has something. Go ahead, Sarah.
No, it's fine. I was just gonna say I can't make it this time.
Okay,
And Susan said she's unavailable.
okay. And Michelle?
Yeah, unfortunately, I already have something planned as well.
Okay,
But I think, and with the working group, and just for the cause, the working groups are informal meetings. There's no expectation for any commissioners to attend those. And Kevin, really, there's no expectation for you to attend either. They are just informal meetings, no agenda. They're really kind of a discussion work group time. But with that said, we cannot have more than 3 commissioners there, or we would be in violation of open meeting law. So I think I said that all right, Lisa and Mariah?
You did?
Good. Okay, so anything else we need to talk about, folks? Okay, I am going to then adjourn the meeting. I believe it is 110. I apologize for running us late. I also apologize for not getting on Teams right. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Sarah Fobar, are you still there?
Sarah Dorman, you mean?
No.
He meant
not-
Stacy. Yes,
Stacy
I am,
Fobar.
Russ.
Stacy, could you hang on to the meeting for just a minute and maybe tell me what I'm doing wrong?
Stacy, does that work for you? Or Russ, I might need to see your Mac in person again. Just because I'm so unfamiliar with Macintoshes.
Okay. Okay.
That explains the problem.
Yes.
It's really advice.
Sorry, Russ.
Hey, folks, everybody, thanks for your time today. Good discussion, lots of stuff going on with our commission, and I appreciate that. We're good advocates, folks. So thanks for your time today.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Thanks,
And
bye.
Russ, I'll email
you.
you sometimes. Bye-bye.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said, Russ, I'll email you with some times that maybe we can meet so I can take a look at that laptop again.